Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the normal quarterly Ask the Expert session. Today, we will be talking about the notification engine. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that the audience is able to hear me. So if I can have a few of you just raise your hands to confirm that you can hear me and that you're also able to see my slides on the screen. Perfect. Thank you so much for confirming, Megan, Christopher. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so we will proceed. All right, so today's topic is for you as an administrator, for you in payroll, or for you who are in HR. We're going to show you how to use the notification engine. Now, before we go on, I just want to say that there are 2 handouts available for you today. These handouts will walk you through the process of setting it up, and because the first thing that I have on my screen here is if you're a direct Novatime Ascensus client, then you would need to contact your support team or your implementation consultant, and they will enable it for you. There are steps that you're going to do on the front end, but we still need our support team or your consultants to enable this feature on the back end. If you are coming to the Novatime system via a reseller, please make sure that you contact them regarding if there are any costs related to this feature. Okay, so all right, so please make sure you download those handouts and then use them as a resource. And at all times during our session, if you have any questions about anything that I'm demoing, please feel free to raise your hands, or at the end of our session, either submit your questions to the question inbox and I will address them that way. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So first, I just want to show this information on the screen and then we'll log into your database. So I do want to let you know that you have access to about 16 different types of templates. And what those templates are, depending on the modules that your organization is using. You have a module that will grant you an opportunity to let employees know, hey, you're reaching your maximum accrual balance. It's time for you to start thinking about taking vacation time. Or for those clients who have employees in California, you need your employees to take their meal break before their 5th hour. So maybe at 4.5 hours, you can have this alert. Send out a notification to those employees and say, you know what, you worked 4.5 hours. Please make sure you take your meal break by your 5th hour. You can have the system send those notifications out to the employees. And so if the employees are on the mobile app, they would get that notification, or if they're on the web, or if they have access to email, or if we have a cell phone on file, then that's how the system would send out those notifications to those employees. What other types of notifications do we have? We have one that's going to be extremely helpful for the payroll department. Let's say that all timesheets are due at Monday at 10 a.m., but your supervisors, you notice that there are still timesheets that are at that open status and you need for them to log in and review. Instead of you gathering a list of all the supervisors that you need to contact, what you can do is you can actually have the system send out those notifications. You can say, if there are any timesheets that are at an open status, please, and it's for non-exempt employees, you can tell the system, send out those notifications to those supervisors, either text them or email them, but contact them and let them know that, hey folks, you need to get with the program. We have a payroll deadline. And so the system can do that for you. All right, so let's log into the system and go together. We'll go through all the steps that you have to do to enable this feature, and then we'll go through the notification engine. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to the hamburger icon, and this is to enable the feature. Plus, you also need to contact support to enable it on the back end. Okay, so we're going to go to the hamburger icon on the top left-hand side of the screen. We're going to go to company setup, and then we're going to go to the super admin. So from the super admin, you will have this option here that says company. we're going to click the plus sign, and that's going to expand that category. And then from here, you're going to look for notifications. So if you see notifications here, you need to move it over to the right. I've already enabled it, but that's like the first step that you need to do. So we're going to go to the hamburger icon. We're going to go to company setup, super admin, and then we're going to go to company. And from the available options, find notifications, click on this arrow here, and it will add it to the right. Once you've done that, please make sure that you save all your changes and refresh the system. That's the first thing that you need to do. Okay. The next thing that we need to do once we've done that first part is we need to go into the access category. We're going to click on the hamburger icon, and we're going to click on access category. Now we're going to go into the page access. All right, so we're going to go, sorry, not page access, but page menu. That's the first thing that we need to do. And then once you're in the page menu, I need for you to go into your own administrator access group. So if this is the particular access group that you are set up under as an administrator, please locate your access group. Okay, so I'm going to grab this one here because I'm set up under the administrator access. So that's the first thing that you want to do. Find that access group that you're assigned to. And then from the right-hand side, we're going to look for company setup. And under company setup, we need to find notifications. There's notifications. You need to make sure that you place a check mark above notifications. So that's step number 2. Okay, so access, page menu, find your access group, go to categories, find company setup, and then locate notifications. That's going to be your second step. The third step, now that you've made that particular notification submenu or category available, the next thing that you need to do is grant yourself full access. How do you grant yourself full access? So we're going to click on the hamburger icon. We're going to go to access, but this time we're going to go to page access. And again, make sure that you have the appropriate access group selected. And then we're going to go into the company setup. And then from here, we're going to look for notifications. So I know that there's a lot. So what I did was I clicked on Control F, and this little window appeared. And I typed in notifications. And so right there, the system highlighted notifications for me. And so that's what I'm looking for. So I need to grant myself full access to notifications. So by default, it's going to say read only, but you need to change that to full access. That way you have access to adjust and create new notifications. Okay. So once you've done all this, what I need for you to do is log out of the system and log back in. That will refresh the system in the back end and refresh everything. And once you come back in here and you have already contacted support to enable it in the back end, then the notification engine will be available for you to start working on it. Okay. So once you've logged out, log back in. How do you access your notifications? Go to company setup and go to notifications. On here, you'll notice that on the notification page, there are 2 tabs. The first one is labeled configure, and the second one is labeled event jobs. So the configure is where you can create brand new notifications, and we'll go through a few, or at least the most commonly used ones together. But I just want to also point out that as you start creating the different notifications, there's going to be a log of all the events that you have going on. So maybe you have the timesheet notification that's going out every Monday, and then you can set up a specific time frame or frequency of how often it's going to happen. So on here, you're going to see the status: has the job run successfully? When is the next time that the job is running? So you're going to be able to see all that information under the events job. So if you wanted to see, if you start creating all these notifications and you want to see the status or the frequency or how often are they happening or who has created those notifications, this is where you can see that information. This is also where you can actually delete a job from happening. So you have that option here. Okay, so that's what your event job tab is for. Okay, all right. Well, let's go back to the notifications here. All right, so I'm going to click on new. And on here, you'll notice that it automatically just added my notification ID on there. All right, I'm going to click on the drop down arrow, and on here, these are all the templates that are available to you as an administrator. So you have all these options, and again, depending if your organization is not using our FMLA module, then you would not be able to see this particular alert show up for you. Okay. All right, so we're going to click on Accrual. Let's start with that one. So what is this one used for? So this one can be used for if you have employees, as I mentioned earlier, you have employees who maybe for your organization, you allow them to have between 100 and 120 hours in the books, or whatever that range may be. And once those employees are reaching that maximum, the system can send out those notifications. So you can decide what that range is and then send the notifications. You can also have the message either just go out directly to the supervisor, or you can have that message go directly to the employees. You can decide if you want both of them to get it or just a particular group. Now on here, it allows you to have the system send it via an external email. Then you can add those email addresses on there, or you can have it go via text message. Now, I do want to mention before we proceed, let me just bookmark this page. So I clicked on that icon and added a little star, and I'm saving it to my favorites here. But I do want to point out, if you want the system to send out emails to your employees, or if you want the system to send a text message to your employee, where do you set up that information? So I'm going to show you where you set it up for an employee as well as the supervisor. So we're going to go to the hamburger icon. We're going to go to the employee info submenu, and from there we're going to click on personal. And on here, you're able to see that for each of my employees. Here's my personal info. This is where I can set up the email address for my employees. This is where I can set up a cell phone number where those notifications are sent to. This is only where it's sent to an employee. If you want messages or notifications to be sent out to your supervisors, that is set up in a different page. We're going to click on the hamburger icon. We're going to go to user setup, and we're going to go to your overview tab. And on here, we're going to find our employees or our supervisors, and we're going to go to the info column, click on this pencil here, and this is where you would set up the email or a cell phone number where those text messages can be sent to. Please note that for text messages, there may be fees for your employees if they don't have unlimited texting. So keep that in mind. But email, that's usually free. So you can set up an email address for your supervisors, the company email or a personal email, and that's where those notifications would go to. All right. All right, so let's go back to our notifications. So I'm going to click on new again. All right, so now you know where or how to set up this information here. That way the system can send out those messages. What else do we have on here? If you would like to send a message to your employees, let me see. This one actually doesn't have the message board where you can actually put a a message out. This one is just email addresses. All right, and all of them are slightly different. All right, let's see. Someone has just asked, can you import all the email addresses? Yes, you're able to import that information. So here shortly, I'll make a note of it and I'll show the group how to import emails over for your employees. Now, for those of you who are automatically on a daily basis or a nightly basis, loading information from your system of record into NovaTime, you can actually, if that information already lives in your system of record, that field can be mapped so it can automatically import in the future. But if you don't have that feature enabled, then yes, all you would need is the employee ID numbers and the email address, and then we can import that CSV file. So I'll make a note of it and I will show the group. Great question. All right. All right, let's proceed and go on to your filters. So the filters is really important because you need to decide, okay, which population do I want to include? Do I want this notification to go to? On here, it says employee status, everyone who's active. If you only want this notification to go out to your hourly employees, then under pay method, that's where that lives. And if you want to double check and make sure, then this is where you can also say pay type non-exempt. So now this approaching overtime, this accrual balance notification is only going to go to your active non-exempt employees. But if you wanted it to go to the entire population, then you can just remove all these filters and everyone who is active in your database would get this alert. Once you've set up a specific notification, always remember to save. Okay, so that's going to be your accruals. Let's go to the next one. I'm not going to save this change here. I'm going to go into the approaching meals. So as I mentioned earlier, for those of you who have employees in California or other states that have specific restrictions, you can actually set this message up where you can say notify when total hours are greater or equal to 4.5 each day. And then you can say notify the employee. You can even notify the supervisor. That way they can tell their employees. And on here, this one actually does allow you as an administrator to add a message or the subject and also a message for your employees. If you're only wanting it to send it to your employee who is often not taking their meal breaks on time, you can select that specific employee, or you can remove that filter and send it to all your employees. But if this only applies to your hourly employees, always make sure that you set up those filters for only your hourly employees, okay? What else do we have on here? Timesheet exceptions. So this is a great one. Why? Yes, let me go back to your dashboard. You as a supervisor, as an administrator, you're already able to see all these exceptions. But if you want your supervisors to also get a report of how many employees have been absent, how many employees have missing punches, or how many employees had no meals, this is also another way for those reports to be generated and those notifications sent out. The nice thing about the notifications is, let me show you, I have a screenshot here. Give me one quick second. I'm going to bring that over here. This is what that looks like. Well, this one is for a missing punch. If you are running the missing punch report, it's going to tell you, hey, managed by X supervisor, and these are the missing punches. And so, which is really nice, and it's helpful for you as a supervisor and administrator. But that's what that looks like. So decide what exceptions you want. Decide if you're wanting to flag the exceptions for the current pay period as of today or the previous day. Okay. Who are we notifying? Always remember to identify who you're notifying. Are you notifying your supervisors that there are all these exceptions out there and you need to have them address exceptions on a daily basis or before the end of the pay period? please make sure you identify the audience and then add that message to that specific group. And as always, identify your groups. So if it applies to everyone in your organization, then this filters can stay as all, and so everyone would be notified. But if it only applies to a specific group that is under a particular pay policy, maybe just my hourly weekly employees, then you can grab them by pay policy, by location, by whichever work groups you have enabled for your organization. Okay. What else do we have on here? Another popular notification is your unapproved timesheets. So this one can be sent to employees. This one can be sent to supervisors. So for employees, you can use this notification at the end of the pay period. If you know that most of your employees are clocking out at 5 p.m. on, I don't know, on Saturday, you can send out a notification first thing Monday morning, like, hey, please remember to approve all your timesheets by 9 a.m. today. The pay period closed Saturday. And so you can send those notifications to your employees. Also for your supervisors, if you have that payroll deadline, instead of you calling them or creating a mass internal email of who has not reviewed those timesheets, you can actually just have the system do it for you. You can decide these are unapproved timesheets. Any timesheets that are at that first approval level or that second approval level, you know, after X number of days, X number of hours after the last pay period, this is how those notifications will be triggered. And then it says send an approval request, and then you have an escalation. So if after the 12 hours of the last pay period, they still haven't addressed it, we have an escalation where another email will be sent 2 hours after. And then this is sent to your supervisors. And here's the message, hey guys, get with the program. Payroll's due, we need those timesheets approved ASAP. So this one is going via email, and you also have that via text option. And this is where your filters live. If the unapproved timesheet message should only be going for those that have non-exempt employees, then just adjust your filters accordingly, or by any of these work groups that you have available. All right. So let me close out of this just for a minute, and let me show those individuals that needed information as to how to import information for employees. So under the employee category, there is import employee. And on here, this is what you're going to need: the employee ID. So make sure that you create a column or a CSV file that has your employee ID, and also another one that says email address. And then once you've created that file, always make sure that it's in that CSV format, that the data, if the data begins on row 2, like mine has headers, so the data is going to begin on row 2, that is set up for row 2. What else? So on here, you want to match the information. Sorry, system field mapping. So we're going to look for employee ID. Employee. There's my employee ID. And then email. All right, so those should be the only 2 fields that you have on your file. So employee ID is one, and the number 2 item should be email address. And once you're done, select process, and then that's how easy it is for you to import that information for your employees. If for some reason you don't have data flowing already into NovaTime, and that if you have to do it manually, then that's how you can do that. Okay. So that answers that question there. Let's see what other questions we have on our chat board. All right, let's see for accruals. So someone asked what message will be there for notifications. So for the accruals, it's just going to let the employees know that this is the available threshold and that you're reaching that maximum balance. So that's the kind of message that would appear. The other thing that I recommend our users is if you're new to notifications, you can start out with a pilot group, maybe just your internal payroll department or just the internal HR or payroll or accounting department. And then if it works for that group, then you can roll it out to the rest of the organization. So test it out and see if it's going to work for you and your organization, and then roll it out to the masses. All right, someone asked if we can send out by a specific pay code. So let's look at events and missed punches, pending schedule requests, timesheet pay codes. Perfect. So that's new. So great question. All right. So on here, it does allow you check timesheet pay codes for, and then you can say, so what that pay code is if you're looking for sick time, is it for the previous, the current pay period? And again, all the applicable fields do apply. All right, let's see. Let me see what other questions we have on here. Give me one quick second. It says, I have a question that says, do notifications go to all delegates? And can you turn off that feature if so? So this feature, if you're a system administrator, it is available to all administrators. So it's all or nothing. So all administrators will have access to it. Your supervisors won't, but supervisors will. All right, let's see what other questions we have on here. And Christopher, I'm gonna need to get back to you regarding your question. All right, so if anyone has any other questions, please raise your hand and I can unmute you, or submit your questions just like everyone's doing through the question inbox. Oh, Tracy. All right. So you said if the email notifications will go to the delegates you have set up. I will also need to get back to you on that particular question. Okay. All right. Any other questions that the team has for me today? Is there anything that you would like for us to go over? All right, as we wait for those questions to come through, we have a few minutes. Let me just lastly, just to close out, show you online help resources. So I want to invite everyone to, if you need additional assistance, come here to online help, but I am excited to show you about our ongoing education. So on here is where you can see the upcoming webinars, but also, I know this is hidden, so I'm going to work with my support team to get this to show up a little bigger font and to be more out there. But I do want to let you know that we have a new Nova Time channel. So if you click here, it's going to take you to not only the recordings for any of the webinars that are happening on a monthly basis, but also it's going to bring you to the latest recordings. So these are the latest basic dashboard controls and everything for supervisors. So there's different things for different categories. And as all the recordings get updated, they're going to be posted to our Nova Time channel. So that lives under Chapter 8, Ongoing Education. So if you miss a recording, if you miss a session, go to Online Help here. Click on this little hyperlink here, and that's going to take you there. And then these are the future webinars. And also, please make sure to visit Chapter 7. That's where we have the what's new and what's fixed. So if you want to see the latest gadgets, the latest features that our system has, or if there was something that was broken and was fixed, this is where you can get the latest information on that. And lastly, Chapter 5. If you're a new administrator and you need information or assistance, please go to the Administrator User Guide area. And on here, you'll learn about the employee profile, payroll, reporting, scheduling, and so forth. So we have a lot of information, and we're slowly working on getting all these hyperlinks and videos updated. But for now, these are extremely helpful. So again, if you're an administrator, go there, supervisor, and employee, go there. Okay. All right, everyone. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for another Ask an Expert session. I know that I have some homework. There are some questions that are still open. So once our session ends, I will get answers, and everyone who's on the call will get what those questions were and also a response to the inquiries. Thank you again for joining, and we look forward to having you in our future webinars. Have a great day, happy Friday, and have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.